Ultimate Fighting Capper is back for our second pay-per-view event, UFC 254. KHABIB Nurmagomedov versus Justin, the highlight reel GAETHJE. It's going to be a very action-packed weekend. The fights are starting early on the East Coast. The prelims start at 11 a.m. The main card starts at 2 p.m., which is unusual timing for our East Coast UFC fans here, that we usually get the fights 11 p.m., 12 p.m. at night. The main event usually comes on, but we'll have KHABIB versus Justin GAETHJE probably at around 4 or 5 o'clock, I'd say, maybe even earlier. So, Adrian, back here. My locks record is now up to 15-3 with last week. We took a tough loss on that over 2.5 Andrade versus Chukagian, but man, was that a fresh knockout by Andrade. She hit her with a nice body shot there, and then she got rocked, hit her with another body shot in that first round, and it was over. Nobody predicted that one. But starting off here with our first fight of the night, we got Joel Alvarez versus Alexander Yakovlev. We can start off with him here. He lost his last fight to Roosevelt Roberts in the UFC. Roosevelt Roberts on a 2-fight losing streak now, so the loss is looking worse and worse. Alex de Silva, he beat Alex de Silva a fight before Roosevelt Roberts, which is a decent win. And then another 2 losses before that to Zach Cummings and Kamaru Usman. We all know Kamaru Usman, now the welterweight champ. So that's a decent loss. Took him to decision. So Alexander Yakovlev, primarily a grappler. In my opinion, he probably shouldn't be fighting in the UFC. This one, if he loses, he'll probably fight one more, and then if he loses that one, it's game over. On the other hand, here we have a great prospect in Joel El Fenomeno Alvarez. He's standing at a 6'3", 77 reach. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage on Yakovlev, sorry. But yeah, on a 2-fight winning streak is Joel Alvarez, and it's he's got some nice finishes on his record. He's got that ground and pound win versus Danilo Belurdo, and then he choked out Joe Duffy in the first round not too long ago in July of this year. So it's basically grappler's paradise here. They're both going to be looking to take the fight to the ground. It's all a matter of who can finish the other. I believe this fight is not going to go the distance. We're going to take Joel Alvarez here to submit Yakovlev in the second round. Touching on the striking, I think Joel Alvarez has a little bit better. He's a little bit more of a technical striker than Yakovlev, as we can see in his last couple fights. He got some nice ground and pound win versus Danilo Belurdo. Really showed that he can outstrike any opponent on the ground. Joel Alvarez by submission in the second round. Second fight of the night for UFC 254, we have Liana She-Wolf Jojua versus Miranda Fear the Maverick. Women's MMA people, they're fighting at flyweight. We have Miranda Maverick coming in as a significant favorite, minus 360 odds. I don't think women's MMA should ever be that heavy of a favorite unless you're Amanda Nunes, Valentina Shevchenko, Joanna Jędrzejczyk, or Weili Zhang. Those are the only 4 fighters, I think, that should ever be extremely heavy favorites. But let's start off with Liana Jojua here. We have the Georgian fighter, and as we know, the Georgian fighters have been on an absolute tear recently. We have last card, we had Guram Kutadeledze beat Mateusz Gamrot, even though a lot of people were saying it went the other way, but the judges still gave it to Guram. We had Giga Chikadze and Topuria beat Yusuf Salal. So the Georgian fighters, and I think it translates into the girl too. Liana Jojua, 25 years of age, 5'4" in height, 62-inch reach. A little bit of a reach disadvantage. Maverick has a 3-inch reach advantage on her, so we'll give Maverick some points there. But looking at their recent opponents, this is Miranda Maverick's first fight in the UFC. she's on a bit of a tear recently. She's beaten some decent opponents in Deanna Bennett and Pearl Gonzalez. But man, it's still women's MMA, and I think like minus 360 is crazy. Given that Jojua has 2 fights UFC experience, lost to Sarah Moraes ground and pound in the 3rd round, but then got a bounce back win versus Diana Belbita, and she finished her with an armbar in the 1st round. And this fight is probably gonna go to the ground. I actually like Liana Jojua here. I like how she composes herself in the ring. I like how she's not going to have those UFC first fight jitters. And Miranda Maverick is going to have them, or at least that's what I think is going to happen. So I think this fight is probably going to go over 2.5 rounds. I see it going Liana Jojua's way. I like the dog money. I think she's a live dog at plus 285. So we're going to go with Liana Jojua by decision here. 3rd fight of the night here for UFC 254, the last night on Fight Island, and then we go back to Las Vegas next week. We have Da Un Jung versus Smilin' Sam Alvey. Smilin' Sam Alvey, we'll start off with him. This fight's at light heavyweight, by the way. Sam Alvey, a veteran of the game. He's been fighting in the UFC for a while now, dating all the way back to 2014. So he's had a good 6 years. He's beat some good guys, lost to some questionable guys, but in recent performances, man, he has been on a really, really bad losing streak here. Lost to Antonio Rogero Nogueira, lost to Jimmy Crute, lost to Klidson Abreu, and recently that tough loss versus Ryan Spann. Even though he got rocked in that fight, he did come back and win that last round against Ryan Spann and almost finished him. And we saw Ryan Spann just got finished by Johnny Walker, so that's not a bad loss in retrospect. But Da Un Jung is just levels above this guy. Like Da Un Jung, 2.5-inch reach advantage. He's about 3 inches taller in height. Even though this says 6'4", I think he's more of like a 6'5" guy. This guy's absolutely massive. We can see the odds makers reflect this. Minus 385 down Jung. I'm seeing him go around like minus 330 in some of my books, so I think that's decent value in a parlay because this is going to be one of our absolute locks here for sure. Da Un Jung just absolutely running through everybody that he's touched in the UFC so far. Khadis Ibragimov, Khadis Ibragimov sucks. He's got cut from the UFC, but great win versus Mike Rodriguez, who honestly should have beat Ed Herman in his last fight. So I think this is an easy one here. I think this should be in every single person's parlay that's putting together a parlay this weekend. Da Un Jung is an animal who I think is going to go on a tear, on a nice little run through the light heavyweight division here, and that's why we're going to go with Da Un Jung by KO in the 1st round. 4th fight of the night, we have Alex Cowboy Oliveira versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, the Kazakh fighter, and we will start with the UFC veteran here, Alex Oliveira. He had a nice performance recently against Peter Sabata and Max Griffin. There's not much to say here. This guy is a banger. He will come at you. He has good jiu-jitsu, good wrestling. He has great striking. An overall typical Brazilian fighter, man. He's a tough guy. He will come at you with high pressure. That jab work is nice from him. Looking at the other side here, we have Rakhmonov. Rakhmonov is on a 12-fight win streak here. He's 12-0 in all of his in all of his MMA fights, because this is his UFC debut, and they're putting him up against a tough opponent here. I think Rakhmonov will be able to get the job done. He is an underdog, so this is our 2nd underdog pick of the night. I really, really like the Kazakh fighters. This guy has no give in him. In M1, he has two great finishes against Thiago Verjao and Danili Perkaza, and his record is not that padded, man. He's fallen some decent opponents: 28-6, 11-3, 10-4, 7-1, 5-2. Like, these guys are all decent in my opinion. We're going to go with Rakhmonov here, but this is by no means a lock. Like, Cowboy Oliveira is a beast, man. This guy absolutely dogged Peter Sabata in his last fight, and I thought Peter Sabata is a pretty good fighter. I actually bet Peter Sabata in that fight, but I don't think Oliveira is going to have much success against the nomad Rakhmonov. I mean, the guy's an absolute beast, looking to make his statement in his UFC debut. We've seen the guys coming out of M1. What's his name? Who lost to Herbert Burns? What's that guy's name? Let me see here, guys. Give me 1 second. I just want to let you know who's the M1 fighter. Yeah, Nate Landwehr. So Nate Landwehr lost to Herbert Burns but beat Darren Elkins, and he absolutely ran through the M1 division. And I think Shavkat Rakhmonov has a chance here. We're going to take him by decision. Alex Oliveira, I don't think he's going to finish. He's a tough son of a gun. If you were going to bet this fight, bet over 1.5 rounds. I think that's a good bet. The co-main event of the prelims here for UFC 254, Casey Kenny versus Nathaniel Wood. Two great prospects, both 4-1 in the UFC. Let's break down Nathaniel Wood first here. 27 years of age, 5'6", 69-inch reach. He has a 1-inch reach advantage and 1-inch height advantage over my guy Casey Kenny here. But I don't like the loss against John Dodson, man. A lot of people are high on John Dodson. I think John Dodson shouldn't have been in the UFC after his last fight, and Dana White agreed with me. He cut him. After that fight against Merab Dvalishvili, John Dodson was like a top 10, top 8 ranked fighter, maybe 10 or 30, somewhere in there. But he was a ranked fighter, top 15. And Merab Dvalishvili absolutely rocked him, devastated him. And for Nathaniel Wood to lose to him this year recently, and by ground and pound, left hook to ground and pound in the third round, it was a bad loss. I suggest you watch that fight. Nathaniel Wood was in it for the first 2 rounds, but then that third round, he just seems to start letting go, gassing out. On the other hand, we have my boy Casey Kenny here, an absolute dog. Watch his last fight against Haley Alatang. Look what he does to his body and his legs. It wasn't even close. There was, I think, 1 or 2 10-8 rounds where Alatang couldn't even get his rhythm. And Alatang's not a bad fighter, man. What he did to Louis Smolka was absolutely devastating. He had a tough loss versus Merab Dvalishvili, but Merab Dvalishvili is running through the division. He's going to get a title shot soon. Win against Ray Borg, win against Manny Bermudez, very, very good wins. And then in 2018, he beat Brandon Royvals, and Brandon Royvals on an absolute tear. All these wins are looking better and better as time goes on for Casey Kenny, and that's why I think it's easy to say here that Casey Kenny is going to beat Nathaniel Wood. I think over 2.5 rounds is the bet. Over 1.5 is even more of a lock. But I'm probably going to put over 2.5 as one of my locks here. I see this fight going to decision, but I just don't like the decision bets. I like the third round gets sketchy, especially with these the lighter weight fighters. They're fighting at a catch weight right here, 140 pounds, which I guess favors Nathaniel Wood because I guess he couldn't make the weight in time. Casey Kenny literally just fought 2 weeks ago, so I don't see why he couldn't make the weight. But yeah, Casey Kenny by decision. 6th fight of the night here for UFC 254. We have Stefan the Skyscraper Struve versus Tam Bam Bam Tuivasa. Stylistically here, we have definitely a mismatch. Starting with Tai Tuivasa here. He is kind of a chuck and pray type guy. Throw a bomb. If he doesn't knock your lights out in the first round, it's over. It's tough. It's tough, man, to predict this guy's fights because he's so unpredictable. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. All decent opponents, all ranked heavyweights. Junior Dos Santos, Blagoy Ivanov, and Sergey Spivak here. So it's tough, man. On the other hand, we have Stefan Skyscraper Struve, also pretty decent pretty shit, not pretty decent, pretty shit record as of recently in the UFC. Lost to Volkov, lost to Arlovsky, lost to Tibura, did beat Marcos Rogerio de Lima, which is a decent win in hindsight because he did submit him, and but it's just tough. And then they lost to Ben Rothwell recently, last year, which was a bad KO. It KO'd him stiff. And then Ben Rothwell recently just lost to Tibura. Didn't lose. He got absolutely murdered by Tibura. This fight's a coin flip, man. I think it's the odds makers show it that way. Minus 125, slight favor for Stefan Struve. You know he's going to be working that front leg kick to the body of Bam Bam Tuivasa. How will Tuivasa be able to handle that? There's a crazy reach advantage, almost it's 9.5 inch reach advantage, and Struve is fucking 9 inches taller than him. It's just a crazy mismatch in height and reach. I think that if Tai Tuivasa doesn't knock the head off of Stefan Struve in the first round, then Struve is just going to be able to front kick him to the body. I think the loser of this fight never fights in the UFC again, so it's going to be an exciting one. Heavyweight fights are always exciting. If I had to make a pick, it's going to be Stefan Struve by decision. First fight of the main card for UFC 254, we have Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion the Hulk Cutelaba. Man, this is going to be a crazy fight. It's already the third or fourth time that it's being rescheduled for the rematch. If you haven't watched their original fight back in February, I suggest you stop this video, go and watch it, and do your own analysis and have your own opinion on this fight. And I'm going to tell you mine right now. Cutelaba faked getting rocked in that first round. I wholeheartedly agree that he got rocked in the chin, tried to fake being wobbled. The ref saw it as he was really wobbled, because in the heat of the moment, you don't really know. You can't really tell what these guys, what they're doing in their heads and what their motive is. But I think Cutelaba tried to get rocked, tried to bait Ankalaev in there, and then basically wanted to go off on him like he usually does versus all of his opponents. Ankalaev here, on the other hand, very dangerous man, 13-1, has only lost to Paul Craig. Shitty loss, but, because Paul Craig is an okay fighter, terrible chin, can get knocked out at any time, but then he went on an absolute tear, beating Marcin Prachinio, Klidson Abreu, Dalcha Lugiambula, and then that first round KO, quotation marks, versus Ion Cutelaba. This fight is not going to go the way the first fight went. There's not going to be a first round KO. This fight's going to go into the third and second round, and then there'll be a finish. Who's going to finish who? I mean, most odds makers see it as Magomed Ankalaev heavy favorite here. It's not that heavy, minus 280, but if you look at all the books, most books have him at like minus 300. Cutelaba here, plus 230, plus 260 underdog. I'm seeing places. They're pretty much even in height and reach. It's going to be a fight. It's going to be an amazing fight, man. Light heavyweights throwing bombs. It's tough to predict, man. It's really tough to predict. I'm going to stay away from this fight, obviously, because of how tough it is to predict. A lot of these so-called UFC cappers are going to go heavy on Ankalaev just because they saw that in the last fight. But I'm going to fade, man. I'm going to trust one of my boy, shout out Griffin, his insight. He thinks that Cutelaba is going to be able to do it. I think Cutelaba is going to be able to do it too, man. The Hulk's going to come out and he's just going to smash. Cutelaba with a third round TKO, ground and pound. That's how I see this fight going. Eighth fight of the night here for UFC 254, the second fight on the main card. We have another women's MMA fight, and thank God this is the only second and final women's MMA fight for the rest of the night. So we're going to get through this one quickly. It's going to be an easy one. I'll tell you why. We have Lucky Lauren Murphy versus Lilia Shakirova. Shakirova's record, 8-1. You're going to think, wow, such an amazing record. If you look on Tapology, SureDog, whatever here, look at her opponents. Her recent fight, second round went TKO win, but her opponent was 1-1. The fight before that, opponent 2-1. This is one of her decent opponents, 5-0. And then she lost to a girl that was 4-4, so that looks bad. And then the rest of her wins: 0-0, 1-4, 0-0, 6-0, 10-4. You know, padded record is an understatement, man. A fighter out of Uzbekistan, you know she's probably going to be tough, but she's fighting an absolute dangerous woman who's been on a 3-fight win streak. Lauren Murphy is she's a savage. She's been in the UFC for a while. She had a rough start in the beginning, but now she's finally trying to get her groove back. 2019 win versus Mara Barella, KO to knees and punches in the third round. A good win versus Andrea Lee, and then another good win versus Roxanne Modafferi, man. Roxanne Modafferi just beat someone pretty significant, but a lot of people are saying, yeah, Andrea Lee. So it's going to be tough for this Lilia girl to do anything. The odds makers see it as a minus 345 favorite for Lauren Murphy, plus 265 underdog for Shakirova. I do not agree with these odds yet again. Let me reiterate, in my first women's fight, no women should be that heavy in favorite unless it's those 4 or 5 that I listed at the beginning of the video. This being said, if you're betting on this fight, do over 2.5 rounds or the fight to go to decision if you're feeling spicy. But if I had to pick a winner, Lauren Murphy by decision. 9th fight of the night for UFC 254, KHABIB Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje. We have Phil Hawes versus Jacob Malkoun. Don't really know much. There's not really a lot of footage on Jacob Malkoun. He's an Australian fighter, primarily a grappler, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black or purple belt, I believe. Don't quote me on that. He's on a 4-fight win streak, but who has he beaten? The one decent win versus Christoph Van Dijk in Wollongong Wars. Never heard of that promotion before. So it's really tough. It's tough to pick. Tough to pick Malkoun here, man. He's going to try to get Phil Hawes to the ground. Phil Hawes is probably not going to let that happen, man. We saw Phil Hawes on the Contender Series this year in September. He had a crazy finish versus Kazimurad Bestiev. It was a nice finish if you haven't seen it. He's on a 4-fight win streak right now. He's looking to make his stamp in the UFC. Minus 270 favorite is a little bit heavy for me, but you know, he's gonna get the job done. I'm gonna do it quick and easy here. Jacob Malkoun, I don't really know much about this guy, being completely honest. We're gonna find out on Saturday what he's all about, but I'm gonna go with Phil, the Megatron Hawes, by KO in the first round. Here we go, homies and homegirls. We're getting to the juicy fights. The 10th fight of the night, the fight before the co-main event, Alexander Drago Volkov versus Walt the Big Ticket Harris. If you've been following UFC lately, both of these guys have had pretty recent fights. Walt Harris had a fight versus Overeem in May. It was a fight a couple weeks or a couple months after he lost his daughter in that kidnapping. It was just a crazy situation. Overeem knocked him out really bad in the second round. Walt Harris did have him rocked in the first round, though. You know, all of Walt Harris's wins are he either loses pretty much by KO or wins by KO, or he loses by submission or KO or wins by KO. So I only see one way here that Walt Harris can beat a guy like Volkov, and that being by KO. Looking at Volkov's side, he's had some decent wins in the UFC. Roy Nelson, Stefan Struve, Timothy Johnson, Fabricio Werdum. Tough loss against Derek Lewis, where he was winning that whole fight, and then Derek Lewis threw a fucking Alabama hammer out of nowhere and knocked his lights clean out in the third round with like 10 seconds to go. It was a wild one. You should watch that if you haven't watched it. Then he had a bounce-back win against Greg Hardy, and then he fought pretty much the number one contender in Curtis Blades, and Blades just sat on him for 5 rounds. Volkov couldn't really do much. I don't think Walt Harris is going to be able to stop that from Volkov. Volkov is way more of an experienced fighter. Oh, well, I wouldn't say that, but he has that experience that's gonna help him beat Walt Harris, in my opinion. He throws that front kick to the body really good. That's going to help keep his distance. A lot of people are saying that Volkov is a taller, bigger dude. The reach advantage is the same, and he's only 2 to 3 inches taller than Walt Harris. Sorry, I have to take a sip of water there. I'm parched. But yeah, the line is pretty even. It could go either way. Heavyweights, it's always crazy, and it could go either way. One guy can get knocked out, or the fight can go to the ground, and then I think Volkov has better ground game than Walt Harris. But yeah, if Walt Harris hasn't worked on his cardio since that fight in May, it's gonna go Volkov's way, because Volkov, he could go 3 rounds, he could do it easy. We've seen it through his career. But with Walt Harris, he pretty much loses or wins in the first or second round, man. So it's tough. But like I said, Walt Harris has that power, and he can just take Volkov's head off with one shot. But I don't think it's gonna go that way this fight. I'm gonna go with Volkov by decision. Co-main event time, ladies and gentlemen, we have Robert the Reaper Whittaker versus Jared Killer Gorilla Cannonier. An amazing fight here, man. Let's start off with Cannonier. Cannonier started off in the UFC organization fighting as a heavyweight, weighing in at around like 240, 250, worked his way down to light heavyweight, where he didn't have much success, lost against Blachowicz and Reyes, and then eventually moved his way down to the middleweight division, where he is on a 3-fight win streak, beating David Branch, Anderson Silva. He broke his leg in that fight. And then Jack Hermansson, a really good finish win against Jack Hermansson, because Jack Hermansson is honestly top 5 in that division, in my opinion. He's a really good fighter. On the other hand, we have Robert Whittaker here. Robert Whittaker, his only real noticeable loss in the past 5 years in the UFC has been that KO versus Adesanya, but then he had a bounce back against Darren Till. Now, in that Darren Till fight, Whittaker got rocked in that first round, man. So I still can't tell or not if that chin is there. That's why it's going to be tough to bet on Whittaker here, because Cannonier is coming with them hands, with that power, man. And I think he has more power than Darren Till. But as far as technical striking goes, this fight's going to be on standing up for the majority of the fight, until someone gets knocked out. I think someone's going to get knocked out here, and I don't think it's going to be Jared Cannonier. I think Robert Whittaker, that chin, man, those double fights against Joel Romero definitely took a toll on him. Then he that stiff knockout versus Adesanya, and then rewatched that Darren Till fight. Got really hurt really bad in that first round. Was able to recover and eventually win the fight. I don't know what Darren Till was doing. He should have went for the finish in that first round, but shit happens, and the UFC is unpredictable like that sometimes. Oh, man. Odds makers have it as a coin flip. Ultimate Fighting cappers have it as a coin flip. It's pretty much a coin flip. I'm not going to flip a coin, because I think I know who's going to win, and that's going to be Jared Killer Gorilla Cannonier. And once Cannonier beats Whittaker, then he's going to be able to fight Adesanya. But then we have a scenario where if Whittaker wins, he's going to want to fight Adesanya again for the title, but Adesanya probably would rather fight Jones at that moment in time, or try to challenge Blachowicz for the light heavyweight title. Who knows, man? It's going to be a tough one here. But, Jared Cannonier by KO in the second round. I think he's going to win by ground and pound. He's going to rock Whittaker just like Darren Till did, except I think the Killer Gorilla Cannonier has that finishing instinct, and he's going to be able to do it. He's going to be able to take him down to the ground with that one strike, one right or left hook, and then fall on top of him full mount and win in ground and pound. Main event of the evening time, baby. We have KHABIB the Eagle Nurmagomedov versus Justin the Highlight Gaethje. Now, this fight should have been KHABIB Nurmagomedov versus Tony Ferguson, but as we all know recently, and if you don't know, watch that fight versus Justin Gaethje versus Tony Ferguson, because it was an absolute brawl. Tony Ferguson was throwing everything he could at Justin Gaethje, and he just couldn't throw off that focus and killer instinct that Justin Gaethje has. And eventually Justin Gaethje stole the spotlight, stole his soul to make the argument, man. Justin Gaethje, his last 4 fights: win versus James Vick, win versus Barboza, win versus Cerrone, which doesn't even look that good anymore, and then the win versus Ferguson, which is the best of them all. Khabib Nurmagomedov, not much to say about him because you guys probably already know. 28-0. Probably going to go down as the best lightweight in UFC history, maybe even the best pound-for-pound fighter in UFC history, bar none, John Jones. You can even make the argument that Khabib did it without any PEDs, no cocaine problems, no DUIs. The only thing that's throwing me off here, Khabib lost his father, rest in peace. It's tough when you lose your father or anyone that close to you who's been in your corner and training you for your whole life, and now you have to kind of do it by yourself, do it solo. So, but yeah, we're going to make this easy here. Khabib Nurmagomedov, he's going to win in 1 round through 5. It might be by ground and pound. It might be by submission. But I don't see this fight going all 5 rounds. We know Justin Gaethje has the cardio. We saw it in the Tony Ferguson fight. But he kind of did some strategic striking versus Tony Ferguson. If he gets a little overzealous and starts throwing bombs at Khabib, trying to knock him out with 1 punch, he's going to gas out. And Khabib is going to take full advantage of that. If he can maybe keep the same strategy that he did versus Tony Ferguson, he might have a chance. But I'm going to quote my friend Griff here. If Khabib takes you down to the ground, that round is most likely a 10-8 round. Now, 10-8 round in a 5-round fight, you need to win 2 rounds in a row just to make up for that 1 round lost, just to even it out. So it's a fucked situation for Justin Gaethje, man. I wish he could fight like a striker and win the title, but he's fighting a completely stylistic mismatch here. Everyone knows it. Khabib Nurmagomedov is going to ragdoll him just like he did all of his other opponents. This fight might go to decision. I like over 2.5 rounds. I like Khabib just sitting on him. Even Gaethje just admitted in the press fight interview, which was today, he said, quote unquote, "I need to keep Khabib in the center of the octagon because if he gets me pushed up against the fence, I'm done." Basically, he said, "I'm done." And I think we all agree that it's going to be tough for Gaethje to work Khabib in the center of the octagon because Khabib's going to be constantly pressuring, if not shooting for a single leg, shooting for a double leg, going for an ankle hook, doing anything crazy. If he gets on his back against the cage, if Khabib's back is against the cage and he's on backpack style on Justin Gaethje, it's over. The fight's going to be over right then and there. He's going to choke out Justin Gaethje. Yeah, I see Khabib winning by submission. I don't know in which round. It's going to be tough to predict that. But yeah, Khabib Nurmagomedov to go 29-0, finish off UFC 254. And that's how we're going to do it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you know this is the part of the night that maybe some of you didn't even watch any of my predictions and skipped straight to the locks. I don't blame you. I'm 15-3. I'm on 7 videos in locks. We're probably up 25 units, but who's counting, you know? We have a nice parlay for you here. Daun Jung has to be in every one of your guys' parlays this weekend. So we're going to go Daun Jung. I even like Joel Alvarez. I like Casey Kenny Nathaniel Wood over 1.5 rounds. And then I like Khabib Nurmagomedov. Those are my locks for the evening, people. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. A like and a subscribe would help me a lot. I'm trying to get this channel to grow all by myself now. I don't know what's going on with Jordan, but Hopefully we can get him back for a couple of videos, but you know I'm going to keep it going every week. We're going to try to get an upload on Wednesday, if not Thursday by the latest nowadays, so you guys kind of have some time to digest what I'm saying and make a decision of your own. See if you're going to tail me, see if you're going to fade me. Let me know in the comment section who you're taking, what are your thoughts, and let's do it, baby. Let's get it on.